ChatGPT 5 recently launched it and included a new feature that not many people are talking about called Study Mode. And I've been waiting for a chance to try that out. And this week I got that opportunity. So in today's episode, I'm putting ChatGPT Study Mode to the test against a couple of real life scenarios. And I'm comparing it to another AI product that not many people talk about called Notebook LM. Now, spoiler alert, these are both amazing products depending on your use case, and they're both completely free. So if you are a student or a professional looking to upskill or just a curious mind looking to learn new information, there's never been a better time to be alive. And if you're not convinced of that yet, then watch this video to find out why. Welcome to My Way or the AI Way. I'm Scott Davison. I'm on a mission to master AI, and it's been an incredible journey because as fast as I'm learning new skills, the AI tools are evolving and they're adding new features. And as I say, with the recent launch of ChatGPT, there are a number of new features, but one that I'm really interested in is this study mode, and that's what we're going to be taking a look at today. Okay, so firstly, let me show you where this is available within ChatGPT. You just open up a chat window as per normal, and you click on the plus icon next to the chat. And that pops up these options here. And there's various options under that plus icon, but the one you're looking for is currently showing up under More. So it is a little bit hidden under More, and it's called Study and Learn. And you select that option. And as you can see, it then displays a blue icon here saying Study, so you know that you're in study mode. And this feature is available to all users, including the free version. And the concept here is that rather than ChatGPT just giving you an answer as it normally would, if you ask it a question, it just gives you the answer. If you're in study mode, the idea is that instead of just giving you the answer, it will teach you the answer. And it sort of takes you through this Socratic process of asking you questions to make sure you've understood the question or the topic. So that's where you find it within ChatGPT. It's a bit hidden there under More, but make sure you go and check that out. And it's somewhat similar to another tool that I've been using that I've covered previously, a Google tool called Notebook LM. So I wanted to look at how this new study mode can be used and how it compares to Notebook LM. And this week was my opportunity to put it to the test. I had the perfect use case. I'm undergoing some study myself. I'm upskilling. I'm doing a course, an online course. And at the end of that course, there's an exam that you need to pass in order to get a certification. They actually provided some prerequisite material, including this book, which they sent in the mail, quite a thick book that everyone has to read before the course. And in fact, at least half the exam questions are based on the information in this book. But it's a really thick book. There's lots of different models in there, different diagrams, different case studies. Now, I am mostly listening to books these days rather than reading them. So first thing I did was went and got that book on Audible, and I've sort of listened to most of the book. But as I say, it's quite a heavy book to listen to. So I need to make sure I've understood all the concepts in there because that's what we're going to be tested on. This was a great chance to try out study mode and to see if it could help me with this scenario. Let me talk you through how this worked on ChatGPT Study Mode. I went in here and selected study mode. I got a digital version of the book. They provide a digital version, which made this easier. So I was able to actually upload the entire book, which is this file here, WTD digital. And then I asked it a simple prompt, which you can read here. This is a book for a course I'm doing this week. It's prerequisite reading. I've listened to most of the book already on Audible, but I want your help to make sure I've understood the key concepts, etc. Please summarize the book and help me embed the learnings into my brain. These are the sort of prompts I'm doing these days. It's got really good at just understanding almost off the cuff prompts. So I just asked it something simple like that, and I wanted it to talk me through the book. And this is how it went about that. So first, it, of course, went and read that entire book in a matter of seconds, which is still blows my mind. And it came back with a quick summary of the book, the core ideas, the structure of the book, which was pretty accurate from what I've read, the 11 key actions there, although it's only listed 5 of them, as you can see. And then it's asked, or it's suggested how we can embed this learning. So it's given me 3 options. We can firstly connect the concepts to my world. It already knows some of the clients I'm working with, including this one, Croydon Travel. So it said, why don't we see if we can apply some of those concepts to your real life scenario with that business, which is an interesting take on it. Secondly, it said it can teach it back. In the book itself, it says after each chapter, then you should try and explain it to your team because teaching helps you. So suggested that as a way to learn it. Using 90-day sprints, so applying the concept of 90-day sprints to my real business and doing it that way, or reflection questions. At the end of each chapter, there's an appendix, and you can do those questions. So it's really asking me what would be the best way for it to help me learn this information, which I really like, because different people learn in different ways, and it's giving me that option. And so the quick check, it says, do you want me to go ahead and give you a concise course-ready summary of each chapter, or do you want to focus more on making this practical for your consulting work? I've said, no, let's go ahead and do the course summary, and then later on we can try applying that to some practical examples. Great, it's gone off and it's done. I would say this is the equivalent of study notes. It's what you would do if you were reading a book and trying to write down study notes and summarize the key concepts in the books. It's done that for me, and it's done a really good job of it. So it's got the core message at the top. It's split the book into 4 parts to make it easy to sort of conceptualize. Part 1, you and your business. Part 2 is these 5 key concepts, the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 framework, which is a big part of the book. So it's summarized that. It's then talked about part 3. And again, there's a couple of key concepts in part 3 that are summarized. And then part 4, which is the call to action to the owners. It's given a takeaway and it said, there you go, that's the summary of the book. So pretty good summary. Of course, that's not the same as reading the whole book, but it's a really good way to remember what you've read and to reinforce it into your mind. Or to be honest, in some cases, if you haven't got the time to read the book, that's the next best thing. You can get a quick summary of it. And it's then prompting me, this is what AI can be like, hey, do you want me to do the next step? Do you want me to do the next step? It's really keen to try and apply it to my real life scenario. So it's prompting me to do that. I've said, hang on a minute, there were 11 actions, but of course it only listed 5 up here. So I've actually asked it, what are the 11 actions every owner must do? And it's gone back and rechecked that, and it's come back with those 11 actions. That's an interesting point. It didn't pick that up the first time. It was missing a few, but I was able to then ask it to go back and do that. So it's very interactive, and it's come back with that 11. So you can sort of go through it in this way, making sure you've understood all the concepts. And if you've got questions on any of those areas in the summary, you can choose to go a bit deeper on that. But you do have to lead it in this case. You need to sort of know what you want to be able to ask it. And then the next thing it's offered me is, do I want to create memory hack or cheat sheets? So a visual 1-pager to help recall the 11 more easily. This is really great for visual learners. You often want to draw up tables or models of a visual way of remembering things. And I really like this feature. So I'm glad it prompted me to do that. And I went ahead and said, yes, but put it all on one sheet. But as you can see here, the diagram or the visual that it's done is actually pretty poor. ChatGPT still struggles quite a bit with doing images, particularly images with a lot of text on them. And this is a very basic image that doesn't add a lot of value, to be honest. But you do, if you did notice what it says here, as I hover over it, it's saying interactive charts of this type are not yet supported. Clearly, this is the direction it's going, is to offer more interactive charts, which would be amazing. And that won't be far off. But right now, what you get is these very basic flow charts or diagrams that, as I say, didn't add a lot of value in that case, but it was nice that it offered that. Then what I really wanted it to do was to quiz me on the information, because I know the next step in this course is that we'll be doing an exam at the end of it. So I need to be tested on the information in the book. So I asked it if it could do a quiz. Can you quiz me on the book to make sure I've understood the concepts? And it says, great idea. And it's gone through and it's just asked me one question at a time. And interestingly, it didn't go for multiple choice. I didn't specify. It didn't go for multiple choice questions. It went for open-ended questions, which generally I quite like. I think that's a better way of testing your knowledge rather than just guessing from multiple choice. Ironically, I know the test at the end of this exam, at the end of this course, is actually a multiple choice. But as I say, in most cases, I think these open-ended questions are actually better than multiple choice. I'm sure if I was to ask it to specifically give me multiple choice, it would. But it gave me these open-ended questions. And another feature I really like about ChatGPT that I'm using more and more is either the dictate mode here, which this microphone on the bottom right is dictate. That allows you to just speak your answer, but it keeps it within the chat window. So it will keep replying to you in text, but you can reply to it by dictating an answer and hitting submit. And that, for these sort of questions where they're open-ended, that's a way more efficient way of doing it, and a better way to think, because you don't have to spend the time writing the answer. You can just, off the top of your head, say what you're thinking, and it's smart enough to put that into a summary and then say correct or incorrect. So I went through these questions and I answered each of them in that way, where I just clicked on dictate and dictated my answers. And it was a really good way to test. And I was sort of getting most of them mostly right. But then, in this case, I got 3 of the 4 things, and it helped me by reminding me what the 4th one was. So it's continuing to teach you as you go through that process. So you're learning from the answers you get wrong, even more so than the ones you get right, which is great. So it's spotting the gaps in your knowledge. And it went through, 6 questions there in that format, where it would write the question in the chat, I would dictate the answer, and then it would analyze my response and say which bits were correct and incorrect. So a really good way of reinforcing the learning. And that's what I was actually looking for, was how it was at that process. And it was very good. So on the whole, a really positive experience of using it. And if you've never used any AI tools before, you'd be pretty blown away, thinking that's so much more powerful than just reading the book. I've now been able to, with the help of AI, summarize the book, get a visual of the layout of the book, of the core concepts, and it's been able to test me and correct my knowledge on the key concepts in the book. So it's a massive step in terms of improvements for how you study. And as I say, if I hadn't tried any other tools, I would be completely blown away by that. But I have previously been using Google Notebook LM for these types of tasks. So I wanted to do a comparison here so you could see how that similar scenario would work in Notebook LM. Let's do that quickly. Notebook LM is, again, a free tool. It's a Google tool, but it's under notebooklm.google, and you can just go there and log in using your Google account. And the free version of Google Notebook LM is very generous. I've been using it for a while. I haven't hit any limits. You get all the features. They don't keep any of the features from you. So if you are a student and you are watching your pennies, then it's a free tool. So you definitely should be using it. And it's slightly different from ChatGPT. ChatGPT is the jack of all trades. It does everything, whereas this has been designed with a very specific use case, which is perfect for this scenario where you're trying to study material that you have. So you can add, in this case, the PDF of the book, the digital version of the book. But as I go through this course, I'm going to be doing daily presentations where I'll get the PowerPoint slides, and I'll be able to add all of those to the same notebook. And at the end of it, it can then test me on all of those resources. But the key difference here is Notebook LM is for testing you on specific resources that you provide. Either you upload them or you provide links to websites or YouTube videos, and all of the knowledge that it's using is based on that. Whereas ChatGPT is obviously got access to the whole world's knowledge. You can still add files like what I did in my example. So you can do that functionality, but it's also using all of the rest of the information that it has access to. So quite different scenarios. And for this one, where I was looking to effectively get a summary of a book and to test myself on a book, Notebook LM is perfect for this. This is what it's designed for. So I uploaded the book. To keep things even, I pasted in exactly the same prompt. So this is a book for a course I'm doing. It's a prerequisite. I've listened to most of the book already, but I want your help to make sure I've understood the key concepts. Please summarize the book and help me embed the learnings. So it does that. There's a chat window in the middle here where you can ask it questions like you do within ChatGPT. And similar to ChatGPT, it's gone ahead and provided a summary here. Much more extensive summary, if you look at this, than what ChatGPT's was. It's gone into a lot more detail. And it's included all these citations where it links to, these are obviously page numbers, I think, on the book. So it links to the specific section in the book. You can actually hover over it and read the actual section of the book. So that's an additional feature that didn't work in ChatGPT, but effectively it's done the same thing. It's summarized the book there and you can read through that. But the difference with Notebook LM is that it's been designed as a study tool and it has a much better user interface. So immediately it's offering these options over here on the right. If I zoom in there, these are its sort of default options for any resources that you've uploaded. It can provide an audio overview, which is like a podcast with two presenters, a male and a female, and they're discussing what's in the book or what's in the resources that you've provided. And it's a really good way of consuming that information by listening to it, which means if you're that sort of person who learns better by listening, that's great. Or if you want to do it while you're driving your car or walking your dog, that's a great feature, the audio overview. That's what Notebook LM was probably famous for at first. They've since added a video overview, which is even more impressive. So that produces, I'll show you an example of that, but it produces a short, effectively a PowerPoint presentation with someone presenting it, which is another way to consume the information. Mind maps, you can do reports, you can do flashcards, and you can do quiz. And these are all just as easy as a click of a button. So let's start with the mind map, because this is similar, I think, to what ChatGPT was trying to do, but ChatGPT did a very poor job of it at this stage because it's not interactive yet. Whereas you can see the version of this mind map that Notebook LM does is fully interactive, and you go through from the title of the book to the different sections, and then you can click through to each section and see the subsections. And for this sort of book where it was steps and modes and models, this mind map is a really good way of remembering all the key concepts. If you're a visual learner, it's perfect. And because it's interactive, they can fit a lot of information onto this one mind map. So definitely a win to Notebook LM in terms of the visual representation of the information. The other one I really like is the video overview. I'll show you quickly what that looks like. As I say, it's effectively a PowerPoint presentation, and you can press play. It provides a voiceover, and then it goes through slides, as you can see here if I flick through it. So you can go through that and have someone present the information to you, which is the equivalent of going to a lecture where a lecturer is summarising a book and providing a few insights. But it does an incredible job, really incredible job of picking out core important facts, pointing them out in a way that you wouldn't get if you're just reading the book yourself. It's a really good way of reinforcing the learnings. And to be honest, if you were a teacher, you could basically take this and use it as your class. So that video overview is a really good feature within Notebook LM that's not yet available in ChatGPT. Flashcards, this is a nice new feature they've added just recently. This wasn't here last time I looked, actually. So I'll show you what they look like. Again, this is just a visual way of testing your knowledge. So you can just flick through the flashcards. It asks you a question, and you can just think, do I know what that is? And if you need to see the answer, it will show you the answer. Or if you need more of an explanation, you click on explain. And over here in the chat, it's explaining each of those steps if you need more information on them. So it's using the chat to explain it. But otherwise, this is a visual cue of flicking through, which is interesting because the other thing they sent me in the mail was actually a pack of flashcards to do this exact same thing. So rather than having the physical ones, I've got them here, and they're obviously available in Notebook LM for whatever topic you're looking to study. But flashcards are a proven way to test your knowledge, particularly before an exam. I'll show you two more features here. One is the report. Again, they've added more to this since I was last in here. The report used to just be study notes, but you see they're now offering different ways. As well as doing a study guide, it can do a strategic plan, it can write a white paper, it can even do a blog post based on the information that you've provided. But study guide's the one I'd recommend for this kind of scenario, so I'll show you what that looks like quickly. You've got your short answer quizzes here, which is similar to the questions it was asking in ChatGPT, open-ended questions. It's got some essay questions, it's got the answers to those questions. It's got a glossary of key terms. And yeah, that's what's in the study guide by default. And again, as I say, you can actually customize that report using this function here. You can create your own report with more or less or different information. But it's really good at providing summaries in that format. And that would be something you can easily download, print off, and use as a study note. And then the final thing I wanted to test was the quiz. They offer a quiz by default. It's just a button. Interestingly, they are using in Notebook LM, the default is to use the multiple choice questions. And in this case, they've provided 12 questions with 4 multiple choice answers, and I can just go through and answer those and each one, and it'll give you, again, it'll correct you as you go, and you can click to explain anything as you go. So 12 questions there to test me. The main difference there being these were multiple choice as opposed to open-ended. And the other key feature that ChatGPT had, which Notebook LM doesn't seem to offer, was that ability to actually answer the questions by clicking on the microphone and just speaking my answers. I really liked that ability for some of the longer questions, to just be able to speak the answer rather than type it in. Obviously, for multiple choice, that's not relevant, but if you were doing those sort of quizzes, I think that's where the audio mode really is an advantage within ChatGPT. But overall, right now, for that scenario we're talking about, where you've got a book or you've got a specific course material that you have available digitally, as long as you've got that digitally and you can upload it to Notebook LM, right now, Notebook LM is still a better solution for that scenario, because it's been designed specifically for that. So it's much more user-friendly, it's much more visually appealing, and it has a few features there that ChatGPT does not yet offer. Having said that, I think it's a matter of time before ChatGPT start offering those features as well. So both amazing tools, but for that scenario, Notebook LM is the winner. But what about a scenario where you don't necessarily have a book or course material or digital assets that you want to study? You just want to study a more general topic. This is where ChatGPT Study Mode is far superior, because Notebook LM requires you providing the information. ChatGPT has access to the world's information, and it can use that to act as a teacher. So I wanted to look at this scenario with ChatGPT Study Mode. And another area where in real life where I've needed this recently is in learning Spanish. I speak Spanish. My Spanish is already at a very good level, but there's a particular part of the language that I often get confused with. So I wanted to see if I could use ChatGPT to effectively act as a Spanish tutor and to teach me that information in the same way I would have previously paid someone to do that. Again, I started by using the dictation mode because I didn't even really know how to explain which part it was that I was having trouble with. So I just clicked on dictate and just read this off the top of my head. Hey, I need some help with an aspect of Spanish. I speak pretty good Spanish, but there's a part that I always struggle with, which I think is conditional or subjective. I'm not sure of the grammatical term, but it's the equivalent of saying, if I have done this, I could have done that. Or if I had this, I would do that. I think it's si hubiera sido type of grammar is that called in Spanish. So, yeah, exactly how you would ask the question to a human if you're asking that question. And this is what I love about ChatGPT. It was able to decipher my question and straight away tell me, okay, yep, I know what you're talking about. You're talking about conditional structures and grammar. I've said, okay, so what's it called grammatically? And it said, oh, that's called the past subjunctive and the conditional perfect. Great. So I now know which part of the grammar it is I want to go back and study. I think it's at that point I've flicked to study mode and I've said, great, can you help me learn the subjunctive and the conditional perfect in Spanish? And this is where the magic starts, because it's really interactive, it's personalized, and the way it talked me through this process was mind-blowing. And honestly, it was the equivalent or better of having a personal tutor. I'll run you through it quickly, just so you get an idea of how it went about it. So it started by saying, okay, here's what we're going to be learning. It then said, step one, I want to test you on your current knowledge, which is really cool. So it actually asked me a couple of questions to get an understanding of what my current level was. Really nice feature. And then it started within the chat providing the grammatical tables. And I know from experience when I'm learning Spanish, I actually like to do it visually to start with. I like to see all the different verb conjugations written out in this way. So I stayed within the chat at this point, and I just kept responding to it via typing my answers. And we went through a couple of practice questions for each of those different grammatical areas. And as you can see, I was getting some wrong, I was getting some right. It was very encouraging, like a good tutor saying, hey, almost, this is where you went wrong. And it was correcting me within the chat, which was a really good experience. And it was a really quick way to test my knowledge and immediate feedback on where I was at, and to correct any grammatical errors I had in a written format. So that was like writing my answers, really powerful. And then it provided a recap of where we got to. And then I wanted to try the audio mode because, again, especially when learning a language, you need to be hearing it and speaking it, not just doing it in written format. And this is where audio mode within ChatGPT is incredible. If you like learning in that way, by speaking and listening, it's great. And obviously for language, that's what you need. So I flicked to audio mode at that point. And to remind you where audio mode is, it's down here on the right next to the dictate button, this little circle with the lines in it. That flicks to voice mode, which means that you're actually having a conversation with ChatGPT, with the AI, and it's responding in audio mode. You listen to the answers and then you speak. However, it does still keep a full transcript of everything you're talking about, which is what you're looking at here. This is the transcript of our discussion, but this discussion happened as if we were two people, a tutor and a student, going through it. And incredible. Obviously, it can speak Spanish better than I can, and its accent was perfect. And it took me through the exercises in a verbal way. It would say, okay, it would tell me the phrase in English, and I would try to say it in Spanish, and it would correct me. And again, it was very encouraging. It was like a good tutor. It would say, hey, you got this part right, but you got this part wrong. And it was very interactive. And it really was quite an impressive way to learn a new language. And there's no reason, really, from what I've seen, that you couldn't use ChatGPT to teach you a new language if you had the discipline to sit down and go through it. This was the equivalent of using a tutor that you might find online, pay, I don't know, $50, $100 an hour for a personal tutor. But this is available 24/7, completely free, and it's infinitely patient. So I could just keep asking the same question over and over. It never gets tired. And it really is an incredible teacher of a topic like this for language. So yeah, if you're a language tutor, you've got a bit of competition now, and even products like Duolingo, which I haven't personally used, and I'm sure Duolingo offers a bunch of customized features, much like Notebook LM, because it's been designed specifically for teaching languages. But in effect, ChatGPT offers the same service for free. Okay, so I'll stop presenting there. But in summary, I mean, both those products are incredible products, and they're both completely free. And it really depends on your use case. So I think this is a good way to approach AI in general, is start with your use case and then find the best tool for that use case. Notebook LM is a specialist tool for studying, and it's perfect if you've got information digitally that you can upload or link to, and it will test you on that information. And for that use case, it's still the superior solution. But with ChatGPT, you have access to the world's information, and it can do a really good job of acting as a tutor to teach you that information. And the best bit is it's only going to get better from where it is now. It's still very much in new beta mode. The features are only going to get better. So like I said at the start, if you are a student or if you're looking to train yourself up or learn new topic or develop new knowledge, there's never been a better time. ChatGPT now has PhD level knowledge of pretty much every topic in the world. So whatever it is you're wanting to learn, it knows it, and it can now teach it to you like a good tutor. It actually reminds me of that scene in Good Will Hunting where Matt Damon gets in the argument with the ponytail guy in the pub, and he sort of shoots him down by saying, you know, you've spent all your money on this Harvard education and you could have got the same education for the price of a library card. It's a bit like that, but in this case, you don't have to go and read all the books yourself. ChatGPT has effectively read all the books for you, and you can use it as your private tutor to teach you whatever it is you want to learn, whether that's a language, in my example, or maybe something for work. It could teach you how to code if you want to learn how to code. It could teach you basically anything you can go to university and learn. You can now learn directly from ChatGPT, completely free, on your own time, and customized to your learning style. So this is a real revolution for education. I think education is one industry where the benefits of AI are just profound, because this effectively democratizes education, meaning anyone who's got an internet access and a free ChatGPT account now has access to all this information and the ability to train themselves up and educate themselves if they want to. And that's what I mean when I say it's an amazing time to be alive. Hope you enjoyed that episode. If you did, please follow the show and leave a comment below to let me know any feedback you have. I really appreciate those comments. I reply to them all, so thank you for those. And thank you for joining me on this journey to learn more about AI. Until next week, I'm Scott Davison, and this is My Way or the AI Way.